Joey Salazar. I was assistant sprint coach for Howards Grove High School for 3 years, and I also coached along with sprints, relays, triple jump, long jump, and hurdles. All the workout routines, workout programs for all those different events. I also had to organize meet schedules and make sure all the athletes were doing their work at practice and competing. I think it would be making sure the athletes feel that I'm giving them 100% and they're progressing through the season. They're getting better, not only in sports but also in school and everyday situations. Yes. The first year I was a coach, I had to coach all those events, and I had 70-something athletes. And I'd go to practice in a great mood and leave stressed out of my mind. Most of the time, yes. It's difficult when it gets overwhelming, but for the most part, you're able to prioritize what needs to be done right away. Yes, I do. Since we had such a small coaching staff, when we would break up the athletes, you take the upperclassmen, ones that were more responsible, that I've seen do the work, they don't complain, they kind of do what you tell them, and they would take control, basically. I'd put them in charge, and they knew that if something went wrong or they goofed around, then they're the ones that are going to be held responsible for it. I think one of the most important things is maintaining a balance between being a coach and being kind of like a mentor type person. Distinguishing that you're there to get them better at a sport, but you're not there just to hear yourself talk and just for people to put in 50%. You're there to do work, you're there to practice, and the only way you get better. And people or athletes will get that confused with coach being a tough guy, and then the coaches that are too friendly and they don't listen to them, they lose that credibility. The biggest influence on me was my high school track coach, Chad Prevey. Modeled my style basically right after him. He's very professional. He knows when to get down to work, but he can have fun and he'll have a good time. A lot of the stuff I have to do is scheduling meets, so I'm reaching out, I'm calling other schools. The schools that are having the large invites, which would be like Oshkosh or Sheboygan North, you have to call around, make sure there's openings, and then a lot of that stuff with that and athletic trainers. The best thing to do is you just got to put yourself out there. You can't be worried about what someone's going to say or if it's going to go in a positive way. You just have to take the risk, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. There's more contacts out there. Courage to stand up for what's right, what's wrong. If somebody's not doing something in practice or something that they're instructed to do, they have the courage to say something either to that person or to a coach. That, I think, is the biggest thing. That and honesty. Honesty kind of goes without explanation. And respect, because with my athletes, even if they weren't the best athlete, I would still delegate them to be more of a team leader if they've given me an amount of respect that is appropriate, when as opposed to some athletes who are gifted in the sport, but their ego is too big for them to get along with anyone else. I like to finish what I start. Sometimes I do take out more than I can chew, but I'm very determined. I like to get my hands dirty. I like to do the work. I'm really a on-the-go person. I don't like sitting around. I don't like being very sedentary. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess it would be the other sprints coach, a couple days in practice, would take the distance sprinters, the 400-meter runners, and we had about 7 of them. So we spent, we took one coach to take care of 7 athletes, and I was stuck with 4 different events and 60 athletes. And this was a regular occurrence, but no matter how much I'd say anything, it never changed. And we've gotten into many heated arguments over what would be a better use of staffing time, but nothing really came of it, and it stayed the same. I guess it's just trying to motivate them that they are a team, The sport of track and field is looked at as individuals, but the 3 years I was coaching were 3 years that they had won conference, and that was a big motivator for them. They didn't want to be the first team to not win conference in such a long span. So that was motivation itself. Otherwise, it's a lot of positive feedback, trying to get them to believe they can do anything, believe they can set new personal records every day, and it's all getting them to trust in you as a coach, trust the workouts, and building up their self-esteem. It's one of those things. What happens at work stays at work. I try not to let any personal feelings, good or bad, influence how I'm going to work with someone. When it comes down to it, I'm going to give them the proper amount of respect. I'm going to do what we can to get whatever task we're doing done, and that'll be it. It's very little of my personal opinions getting into work. I'd say in most of my life, I kind of like to take control. I like to take the reins. However, in this situation, I was the assistant sprints coach, but I was the sprints coach and the hurdles coach. So when it came to the events where I had more knowledge, more experience with the athletes and myself through the years, I kind of took the reins with that, but the head coach has a final say, so I took a backseat to him a couple times. For track and field, it would be first off getting the meets scheduled. That happens usually before the season, so got to get that done. And then it would be constructing workouts and routines for the athletes. If it's a situation where the individual has more knowledge and more experience on the subject, I would be more willing to relinquish control. However, if it's a topic that I feel comfortable with through experience and knowledge, I'm going to be more reluctant, and I'm going to be acceptive to input from the individual. However, I will maintain the leadership position. Try and work it out. It's like any situation, whether it's in school or at the workplace. You talk it out, you sit down, and just try and get them to understand that what happens at work should stay at work. If they're friends outside of the workplace, not to let this interfere with their friendship or their schooling or whatever's going on. Partially with our situation, the athlete's success. The individuals are different, the amount of work they put in is different. However, it does reflect on the coaching. It does reflect on their knowledge of the sport and their ability to be assertive and make sure there's work being done. Also, it would be the amount of work they do, whether it's scheduling meets or setting up practices. If they come in every day and they're scrambling to get everything done, that's really not a good sign, and they're not going to get a whole lot of praise from any of the other coaches. I've sent athletes home. If they're there messing around, not listening to anything I say, I'll tell them, come back tomorrow. Just, you might as well go home. If you're not going to do the work, why be here? It's very difficult since we had such a small staff, and I'd have to be working. Say I'd be working with relay exchanges. I'd be on the other side of the track, and I'd have 30 sprinters standing around blocks, just trying to do block starts, or just watching the hurdlers run. It's tough to make sure they do it, but upon arriving, I like to be more strict in the beginning, so everybody gets the vibe that we got to do the work. I can have fun, but if you don't do the work, then you're going to have to suffer repercussions. You sit down with them, talk to them, tell them that success will come, especially if they're putting in the work. The sport of track and field it's a game of numbers. You can run your whole life, train as hard as you can, and your times will change half a second. The biggest thing is keeping a good mindset that it will come. Just keep pushing harder, keep pushing, and just getting that across to the athletes is the biggest thing. It's a wonderful thing. The wonderful thing is that success in the sport is a reward itself. If you start doing well, you start placing, you start getting medals, you start getting names in the paper. For the ones who don't do it, a lot of it is reaching their new personal best. They may not be varsity athletes, but if they come in set a triple jump PR by 3 feet the first meet of the year, that's pretty good, and then it's only going up from there, because once that confidence starts going, then the performance will follow. I like to have fun. I think through my years of schooling and sports, if you're not having fun, you're not going to learn anything, you're not going to try. But at the same time, if the work's not getting done, then you have to turn a switch and get down to business. You have to crack the whip, so to speak. And you got to have a fine line. You have to maintain a relationship with your athletes, with the other coaches, and specifically with the athletes. You have to remind them that you're the coach. You're not their best friend. The way they talk to their friends, the things they talk about with their friends are things they should not be talking about. One, at practice, but two, with a coach. For the most part, yes. Every individual is different, so sometimes you have to vary it. With coaching, some athletes are motivated by yelling. If you get in their face, it kind of motivates them. Usually the football players will prefer that style. Get in their face, gets them pumped up. Sometimes when they're mad, they perform better. But others, if you come at them like that, then they're just going to shut down. So sometimes you need to sit back and tell them, it's not that bad, you'll get it next time. Or other times you just got to get in their face and motivate them. It's taking it person by person basis. I think that also kind of goes hand in hand with the last one. It's learning their personality, kind of getting that relationship with them, and then you can understand whether it's motivation or whether it's injuries or scheduling issues. If you can understand their personality and convey that you do understand that, they're more likely to come to you and ask for help or be really responsive when you help them. Since I was coaching high school, it was pretty easy. If they were new, then they were kind of thrown in the mix. It takes time. As much as you want to just say, this is your teammate, everything should be normal from then, but it's not. It'll take time. Over the weeks, maybe a month or so, you start to get integrated. Alright, if they never show up, we had a situation like this, then there's no point in them being on the team. If you don't want to come do the work, then you're not going to show up on meets, you're not going to do anything, you're not going to be a part of the program. Lateness, if you advise one of the staff that you're running late or you're going to be late, we're more lenient. However, if you just show up late, usually there's some form of punishment. Kind of varies from coach to coach. For me, if they're on a relay and they're late, every minute they're late is a minute that they have to watch their teammates run, just kind of enforcing that they're part of a team. They need to be here, they're accountable just like anyone else. I'd say we're pretty low. For how small the school is only about 600, 700 kids, but the rosters, my first year was 82 athletes, men and women's. The second year was around 77, 75. And the last year it was the lowest year, it was 63, but we had graduated a large senior class, and the freshman class that came in was not as big. So for the most part, usually it's just turnover with the grade size, the class size. If you lose a big senior class, the numbers will be down for the next year. It's just being personable. If it's someone you can only talk to about work or about coaching, you're only going to get so far in a conversation. Once practice is over, you get tired of talking about it. So it's being personable. What we used to do, we'd have coach golf outings. So just kind of getting to know each other outside of the track, outside of the sport, and staying in touch. That's the biggest thing. You don't want one of those relationships where when you're at the track or at work, then you get along and you talk, and then it's over once you leave. I feel that's counterproductive, and that's not going to achieve anything. Yeah, we're kind of tight-knit. We only have 4 coaches, so we get together, we talk pretty much about anything. and everyone's pretty comfortable with everyone else. So any problem that comes up, we're all ears. We listen. We try to figure it out. But I'm very comfortable with who I have to talk to. I'll make it known, verbalize it. If you have an issue and you don't say anything, nothing's going to change. Usually to start, just talking to them either before or after practice. And if it's a big enough issue, meeting outside of the work area. But kind of just letting it sit in the workplace rather than letting it overlap into any other area of personal life, personal relationship. It was one of the first meets I coached, and their relay team was supposed to win. And when I came in and coached it, I changed their style of handoff of the baton, their steps or their exchange zone, how they use the exchange zone, and the order that they ran. And everyone told me that it's a horrible idea, and I told them to trust me, just give me a chance, and they ended up setting a new PR by 4 seconds. So that paid off for me, but it could have been disastrous. I've told them, you know, it's like with networking, you got to put yourself out there. If they're interested in trying something new and then they, you know, think about it, oh, I don't want to do that, just do it. You learn so much from taking risks. You learn how to fail, you learn how to succeed, and you can discover things that you never thought you were good at. We had an individual, he was a high jumper and a hurdler, and never wanted to do anything else, and we threw him in long jump, and he actually made it through to sectionals after 1 year of just practice. So it's getting him to take risks, not stupid risks, but take a risk and see what happens. That's what life is.